Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Jen's Books. I hope you've had a fantastic week and you've got beautiful sunshine wherever you are. It's been gorgeous up here in our little corner of Lancashire, and I hope that you've had a great week too. So this video is a good old-fashioned book haul video. I've picked up quite a few books recently. I think I've been quite clear that I have a bit of a problem with buying books, but I thought I'd share them with you. It'd be really nice to know whether you've read any of these books before, whether there are any of these that are on your TBR, or books that you've not enjoyed at all, or any recommendations based on the books that I'm going to show you in this video. So the first book, you can't really avoid it, it's so out there at the moment, and that is Yellow Face by Rebecca F. Kwang. So after her success with Babel last year, she's all over the place with this book, and I don't know a whole lot about it apart from the beautiful cover, so striking. And when you take the dust cover on this one as well, there's this sort of shiny eyes on the inside as well, just gorgeous. So the blurb says, Athena Liu is a literary darling and June Hayward is a literally nobody. When Athena dies in a freak accident, June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own under the ambitious name Juniper Song. But as evidence threatens June's stolen success, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. What happens next is entirely everyone else's fault. So it sounds like it's a comedy. I love books about writing and about the publishing process. So that sounds right up my street. And I know from her work with Babel or Babel, however you pronounce it, she's really interested in the use of language. So it'd be interesting to see how that comes across in this novel. The next book is one that I picked up the other day, which is called Hester, but by Laurie Lico Albanese. And what attracted me to this particular novel is that it's inspired by The Scarlet Letter. So it's inspired by a classical novel. And I think I've gone on record saying before, I really love books that are sort of talking to one another, where there's this link between classic novels and reworkings. So the blurb says, a dazzling inventive tale of troubled legacies, desire and unsung power inspired by The Scarlet Letter. Glasgow, 1829. Isabel, a young seamstress, and her husband Edward set sail for New England. In flight from his mounting debts and addictions, arriving in Salem, Massachusetts, Edward soon takes off again, and Isabel finds herself penniless and alone. Then she meets Nathaniel, a dashing fledgling writer in search of inspiration, and the two are instantly drawn to one another. So it looks as though the author of The Scarlet Letter is actually included in a novel, which is really interesting. It'd be interesting to see how they do that. He is haunted by his ancestors who sent innocent women to the gallows during the Salem witch trials, while she is an unusually gifted needleworker, unsettled by her own strange talents passed down through generations. So it sounds really interesting. As I say, I really love books that engage with classic novels and take them in new directions. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works. The next book is one that I've been spammed on Facebook shamelessly, and so by the time I saw it, I think I was just programmed to pick it up. And it's Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill, and it does have a rather gorgeous cover as well, which enticed me when I saw it on the shelf. It's rather beautiful, and it's got like a shiny, flashy eye there, which is what kept coming up on Facebook all the time. And it's got really lovely pages inside as well. It says, Mary is the great niece of Victor Frankenstein. You might be seeing a theme here. It's another book inspired by another classic novel. She knows her great uncle disappeared in mysterious circumstances in the Arctic, but she doesn't know why or how. The 1850s are a time of discovery, and London is ablaze with the latest scientific theories and debates, especially when a spectacular new exhibition of dinosaur sculptures opens at the Crystal Palace. Mary, with a sharp mind and a sharper tongue, is keen to make her name in this world of science, alongside her geologist husband Henry. But without wealth and connections, their options are limited. But when Mary discovers some old family papers that allude to the shocking truth behind her great uncle's past, she thinks she may have found the key to securing their future. Their quest takes them to from the wilds of Scotland to Henry's intriguing but reclusive sister Maisie, and to a deadly chase with a rival who is out to steal their secret. Frankenstein is one of my absolute favourite novels, and certainly one of my favourite Gothic novels. So as soon as I found out that this was kind of a sequel to that, I mean, it's a lot of a lot to live up to, but I'm looking forward to reading that. It sounds like it's going to be a nice sort of cosy Gothic read. Next, we have another book that I couldn't quite resist because of the amazing cover. It's called Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. And that is quite a stunning retro cover, which I could not resist. There's some sort of hamming aspect there, bringing back memories of the 70s. But it's just gorgeous, the cover. I really, really got drawn in, and also because of the blurb as well. It says she's dead in the basement and refusing to leave. Abby's mother-in-law is worse than most. She's hypercritical, thinks her son can do no wrong, and her daughter-in-law can do no right. Oh, and she's also the undead, back from the afterlife and out to destroy everything Abby holds most dear. So yeah, again, it sounds like it's probably going to be quite funny, quite dark, and as I say, couldn't resist that gorgeous cover. And I've heard good things about it as well, so I will let you know my thoughts on that one. And another one with a very sort of similar cover, which I've already started having a look at actually, is called The Woman in the Library by Solari Gentile. And again, it's got another one of those sort of retro covers with the squealing schlocky woman on the front. And again, I couldn't resist that for that particular reason. And again, I've heard good things about it. It says crime fiction of a Best Indie Novel Awards winner 2022 as well. So I'm clearly not the other one, only one who's been impressed by this. And the blurb on the back says, Hannah Tigone, best-selling Australian crime author, is crafting a new novel that begins in the Boston Public Library. Four strangers, Winifred Kane, Marigold and Wit, are sitting at the same table when a blood-curdling scream breaks through the silence. A woman has been murdered. They are all suspects, and, as it turns out, each character has their own secrets and motivations, and one of them is a murderer. You know, I couldn't resist that. That just sounds quite cosy and thrilling crime drama. So I'm looking forward to reading that one. As I've started it already, and it's already drawing me in. So I'll let you know what I think of that one when I finished it. Next, I mentioned for my book of the month was Claire Fuller's latest novel. So I picked up one of her other novels, which is Unsettled Ground, which is this one here with a rather gorgeous cover. It says, Jeannie and Julius have always been different from other people. At 51 years old, the twins still live with their mother Dot in their isolated ramshackle cottage, making music and growing, and sometimes killing, everything they need for sustenance. But when Dot suddenly dies, threats to their livelihood start raining down. Desperate to preserve their small sanctuary against the perils of the outside world, Jeannie and Julius find themselves pushed further to the margins as their mother's secrets begin to unravel, putting everything they thought they knew about their lives at stake. I don't know why, but I'm getting the vibes of We've Always Lived in the Castle with this one, the Shirley Jackson. It's probably quite different, but that's the vibe I'm getting from the blurb. And of course, that makes me quite excited to read it because I love Shirley Jackson. So that's the other one. I've just got a few left. This is another book that you can't have avoided to see everywhere, and I was humming and ahhing whether or not to read this because I've heard really mixed reviews, and that's Glory by No Violet Bulwayo. And this book will not be a new one to you, I'm sure. It was shortlisted for the Booker. It's been longlisted for all different kinds of prizes recently, and my feeling is it's kind of a draws quite heavily on George Orwell's Animal Farm, using talking animals as an allegory for political upheaval. So the back says, an energy burst, an exhilarating joyride, and an animal nation trapped in a cycle as old as time, narrated by a vivid chorus of animal voices that unveils the tyranny and ruthlessness required to uphold absolute power. Glory is the tale of an uprising and a country's implosion, and at the centre of it all, a young goat called Destiny returning home to bear witness to a revolution. Urgent, wild, dazzling with life and irrepressible wit, Glory is a razor-sharp satire that unpicks power and shows how history can be halted in a moment. So, as I say, I've heard mixed things about this one, but it does keep coming up. So there's got to be something there that's worth looking at. I do think it's quite ambitious to be inspired by such a classic novel as Animal Farm. So it'd be interesting to see how this uses that kind of premise and takes it in a completely different direction, which I'm sure it will do. Last of all, I've got Trust by Hernan Diaz. This is another one that was longlisted for the Booker, and it's recently just won the Pulitzer along with Barbara Kingsolver. And again, it's one that I've heard mixed reviews of. So it was another one that, I wasn't sure, should I get it, should I not? But in the end, decided to have a go. Again, you know, it has just recently won the Pulitzer, so it feels like it's worth exploring. A Wall Street tycoon and his young wife rise to the top of New York society in an age of excess and speculation, but now a novelist is threatening to reveal the secrets behind their marriage, and this wealthy man's story of greed, love and betrayal is about to slip from his grasp. Composed of 4 competing versions of this deliciously deceptive tale, Trust brings us on a quest for truth while confronting the lies that often live buried in the human heart. And again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I get the impression that it's the same story told from different perspectives, one through a novel, one through the person who's the novel is actually about, and then a third version. I don't know a whole lot about it, but again, you know, it feels like it was one that I needed to pick up and have a go. And even if I don't like it, that saves you having to read it if you don't like that sort of reading. It'd be interesting to know if you have read this though and what your thoughts are on it. Last of all, I've got some non-fiction, and this is a modern classic. It says John Hershey's Hiroshima, and this is sort of a retelling of the Hiroshima bomb. When the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in August 1945, killing 100,000 men, women and children, it was the beginning of a new terrifying episode in human history. Written only a year after the disaster, John Hershey brought the event vividly alive with his heart-rending account of 6 men and women who survived despite all the odds. He added a further chapter when 40 years later he returned to Hiroshima to discover the same 6 people had struggled to cope with catastrophe and with often crippling disease. The result is a devastating picture of the long-term effects of one very small bomb. So I'm interested in reading this. I read a book by Camilla Shamsi that began with the bombing of Hiroshima, and I've been quite intrigued by it ever since. So it'd be interesting to find out a bit more about what actually happened, and a bit of a change from all the fiction as well. I do try and change it up and read a bit of different genres, but that's it for today's video. Thank you for bearing with me. For some reason I don't seem to be able to talk today. Everything's coming out wrong, so hopefully that all made sense. But it'd be lovely to know what your thoughts are on those books. If you're new to the channel and you want to come along for more recommendations and reviews, do come along. It'd be lovely to have you on board and know your thoughts. But for now, have a fabulous weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye.